Hello, God bless you all. Soon after the Lord came to me with the fire, He let me know that He was going to give me a honeymoon of sorts, a resting period, a time without a lot of problems. He didn't let any of the warfare get to us. But He did tell me that that wasn't going to last, that there would be a pretty much constant stream of warfare. There'd be brief periods of rest in between this warfare, but from that point out, from this point out, there was going to be warfare and tough times. Last 10 days, we've been under some really intense warfare. I mean, the intensity of the evil around us seems to be growing. I mean, it's not as intense as the sifting period that I went through for a few years with the gang stalking, but it's pretty bad. I mean, just in the last 10 days, we had one instance where my son came under a demonic attack that was frightening. I mean, maybe not quite Damien Owen 3 type stuff, but it was pretty frightening. It scared me. I mean, he woke up in the early morning thrashing and kicking, and he was angry, and I mean, at the same time he was angry, you could see the fear and the pain in his eyes. It's a really horrible thing for a parent to go through. It was hard, and normally I'm able to pray these things off very quickly, and I struggled with this. I mean, so much that I was doubting myself. I mean, Lord, why is this not going away? Why is this attack lasting? It lasted for a while. We eventually prayed it off. And about an hour after that, we were woken with a phone call asking to talk to my son. My son is 3. We're pretty much off the grid, and we've never signed him up for anything or anything. I mean, this was a very clear message that was a directed attack. My kids have been sick the last 10 days, real bad. A lot of projectile vomiting. I mean, if you were parents, you probably know what I'm talking about. It's been, all 3 of them have just been hammered with it. My diabetes is just, kicked up. It's been bad. I mean, there's an overwhelming lack of energy that comes when the diabetes gets that bad. One day we had our car towed, went out to go run an errand, and my car was gone. I mean, my wife was in absolute hysterics. She thought it was towed. Had been stolen. I heard pretty quickly it was towed, and that ended up being the case. It was towed wrongly, but that doesn't matter. At work, my wife has been under incredible persecution and attack. She's had a 9mm stuck in her face during a robbery. One of the other employees stole $100, and it was very obvious that it was the other employee. And the company told her that she was going to pay that money at the end of her shift, or she was going to be fired because she's a manager. She's been under intense racial persecution at work. Not that I have any issues on the race thing, but a black lady took over the general manager position and has been really obviously persecuting the white workers there. I mean, they've all been getting write-ups, and she's been hiring black person after black person and making it obvious they're trying to make the white people quit. I'm sure that goes the other way in other workplaces. I'm not getting into a race thing. It's just what's happening, and it's really bad. She really hates going to work. Like I said, it's been very intense. Every single night I've been having very wild, vivid, end of days type dreams. I haven't made a video during this time period, mostly because he hasn't directed me to make any. I mean, I knew I was going through some tough stuff, and there was some learning stuff. I didn't know what I hadn't received a message, and I don't like speaking idle words. Unless he tells me to make a video, I'm really not going to make one. I stayed calm through these trials. I was pretty good on that. My wife learned, she's a pretty new Christian, that she has to work in that area, but I was able to stay pretty calm through all of that storm. I learned lessons from each of the attacks and of the trials that we went through. And although I was not perfect in every way in my heart, I avoided sin. I didn't get caught up in the sin. Yet, even with all of that, throughout the entire 10 days, the lamp burned very low in me, and I didn't feel his presence. At times I felt, to be honest with you, like I was clinging on just to keep the lamp lit. This was scary. I have not had anything like this happen since the fire baptism. I kept focusing on killing all flesh that I could. I am eliminating any sin. What small sin might there be somewhere in my heart? That didn't seem to be the focus of whatever he was trying to teach me through these things, though. And to be honest with you, that's what scared me, is I didn't understand. I didn't know what he was trying to say. I've seen many warning videos during this time period. People warning, harsh directives even, to avoid all sin, to be perfect, to... I get that, but there's a big do not touch, do not taste, do not smell, no movies, no Hollywood, no music, no world, no flesh. I've been hearing a lot of that. And I get it. I mean, I totally get the holiness idea. I feel the warning to be holy. But he gave me Micah 6:8 last night. And what does Yahweh require of you but to do justice and to do mercy, to walk humbly by your God, before your God, excuse me. I'm not advocating sin in any way, shape, or form. And far from it. I've said many times how the Lord has delivered me from the sins that I used to be in bondage to. And I get that Hollywood and music is of the world. I mean, more than you know. I understand how Satan is just evilly working through the world and through movies and through MK Ultra and NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, and how it's woven into the media and the music to mind program us all, to make us ensnared by the world and by his plans. But defining too hard what others can or can't do in the Lord is unwise, I think. What he tells you to do, obey. But be careful of telling others they have to listen to what you're saying on debatable areas. I can count on two hands the times how many movies I've watched since the night of the fire. But I can say that he has spoken messages or lessons to me through secular movies a couple of times since then. Last night I watched a few movies. I asked him. I didn't hear a no. I didn't feel like he was. I didn't feel he was thrilled that I was, but I didn't feel that I couldn't. He allowed it. I watched him. As I laid down at night, he lit the lamp up all the way. He came to me in a strong way. I felt his presence. I felt his comfort. I mean, I didn't understand. Why did he choose now when I wasn't being perfect to deliver the lesson I have been waiting for 2 weeks to hear? Psalm 103:11. As the pity of a father over his sons, so Yahweh pities those who fear him, for he knows all are dust. I stopped sinning because of his power, his love, his grace, not by my own efforts. For the last 2 weeks, I've been striving to conquer the battle of flesh in my power, to a certain extent, to kill all flesh. And too many warnings I'm seeing on YouTube seem to be advocating this approach, maybe unknowingly. Many of the warnings also come with an apparent lack of joy and not a lot of love in them. Abba is very much about joy and peace and love. Obedience, absolutely. But that is only possible when we are loving him with all of our heart. Some are pushing the be perfect or burn message right now. And I have to say I've struggled with the idea of can we be perfect. I asked Abba and he did say consider Job. And I felt that was an answer that yes, it can be done. I also heard him say clearly that not to worry about what others' idea of perfectness is, and that not to get caught up in somebody else telling me I have to match their standard to be perfect with him. He gave the law in part because man either refuses to surrender the entire heart or is unable to. They refuse to love God with abandon because he is a wild lover. I can almost hear some of you say blasphemy at that, and I understand, but I'm going to say it again. God is a wild lover, and we hurt him with our adulterous behavior and our adulterous hearts. This is rectified by loving him completely through Christ and by his Holy Spirit. 2 Chronicles 15:13. And they entered into the covenant to seek Yahweh, the God of their fathers, with all of their hearts and all of their souls. And verse 15. And they sought him with all of their desire, and he was found by them, and Yahweh gave rest to all around. It is a wild lover who sends his son to die to reconcile his bride, who gives free will to those absolutely bound to abuse it, to receive perfect love. It is a wild lover who puts up with so much treacherous from his betrothed, yet forgives and takes them back. And a very good object lesson to those who would abandon their earthly spouse for any reason whatsoever, in my opinion. When he comes strongly to me, I can't help but notice that the feeling I receive is much like the new love. The kind you get when you first met the great loves in your life. The nervous, uncertain, giddy feeling that we feel in those times. That's sort of what it feels like when he comes to me. What the water feels like during times of his fire. Ever since the night of the fire, I've felt the lamp in my belly that he put there. Sometimes it runs low, sometimes it runs high. Often he teaches me his will through it. And last night he reminded me with the lamp, I love you. I know many will reject that, will say feelings don't matter, we can't live by our feelings. That's true in many respects, but mostly you're saying it because you're not having those feelings. I say what he taught me last night. Return to your first love. Obedience is crucial, but it will not be accomplished without love. Wild love. God bless you. Love you all in Jesus.